All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to crack the code on the single biggest, most influential event in biotech finance. This is your insider's guide, your 2026 playbook for the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. So, let me ask you a question. When you think of JPM, you're probably picturing these giant auditoriums, right? Super high-stakes boardroom meetings. But is that where the biggest, most market-moving deals really get done? The answer, well, it might surprise you.
Yeah, you can forget all that. The main stage, the polished talks, the deals that actually move the market, the ones that define the entire year for biotech, they're already signed, sealed, and delivered before anyone even officially opens the conference. It all happens in the shadows.
All right, so let's really dig into what that means. We're about to decode the entire unofficial playbook that really runs this conference, and it all boils down to two key ideas you've got to understand: Shadow Week and the leak.
So first, what in the world is Shadow Week? Well, you're not going to find this on any official schedule, that's for sure. It's this super critical 7-day window, January 5th to the 11th, right before the conference actually starts. This is when all the smart companies strategically drop their biggest news to get ahead of the noise and, control the story.
And this timeline right here really paints the picture, doesn't it? You've got the official conference week, all the formal stuff, the networking, but the real game, where the serious money is made, is played the week before. That's Shadow Week. That's where the strategic leaks happen, and the big institutional players, they're already placing their bets for the whole year.
And if you think that's just a theory, check this out. We've got hard data on this. A staggering 60 to 70%, let that sink in, of all the stock moves related to JPM happen before the first official speaker even clears their throat. So if you're waiting for the main event to start, you've already missed most of the game.
So you might be wondering, why on earth would a company leak its own good news? Well, it's actually a brilliant strategy. For one, it's all about controlling the narrative. You put out a press release, you get to frame the story exactly how you want, and you totally sidestep a grilling Q&A session on stage. Two, it makes their meetings way more efficient. The big news is already out there, so those crucial one-on-ones can be about what's next, about future strategy, not just going over old data. And finally, it's about signaling to the competition. You get your announcement out on day one of Shadow Week, you own the headlines. You get a whole dedicated media cycle to yourself instead of getting lost in the absolute chaos of the main conference.
Okay, so now we get the playbook, right? We know how the game is played. So what's the playing field look like for 2026? What are the big macro forces that are going to shape everything? There are really two huge ones you need to have on your radar.
First up, let's take the temperature of the room. What are investors actually expecting? Well, a recent poll shows that a whopping 39%, the biggest group by far, are betting on a record year for M&A. That's mergers and acquisitions. I mean, that is an incredibly bullish, optimistic signal heading into the biggest deal-making week of the year.
But, and this is a big but, that kind of optimism, it's a real double-edged sword. On one hand, the bulls could be right. We could see this massive wave of mega deals. But on the other hand, there's a huge contrarian signal here. History tells us that when the crowd gets this bullish, it often sets up a classic sell the news situation. Stocks can actually fade unless a deal so big, so transformative comes along that it just blows everyone away.
All right, the second massive catalyst, the Biosecure Act. Put simply, this is a U.S. law that is completely rewiring the biotech supply chain across the globe. It's basically forcing companies to pull their critical manufacturing contracts out of Chinese firms like Biotech and bring that business back to Western partners.
And look, this isn't some far-off theory. This is happening right now as we speak. Lonza, a huge Swiss manufacturer, came right out and said they're seeing unprecedented demand from their U.S. clients. That's the exact reason they're doing this massive expansion in New Hampshire. It's a direct, real-world consequence of this act. And you want to see how the market is reacting? Just look at Biotech, one of the biggest Chinese companies that's being affected. Their stock dropped 4% overnight in Hong Kong. That's the market telling you loud and clear that they think this is a permanent loss of revenue. This isn't a blip, it's a fundamental shift.
All right, so we've got the playbook and the market forces. Now for the fun part. Let's talk about some high-conviction ideas. We're going to put a spotlight on what some are calling the pro-buy list.
Okay, let's run through the list real quick. You've got LEGN Biotech, considered best in class with some serious takeover potential. Then there's Cytokinetics. We'll talk more about them in a second. They're the prime M&A target. ASND Pharma is seen as an undervalued growth play. You've got a sleeper pick in Rhythm Pharma, which has a great track record. And then there's the big guy, Gilead Sciences, a safer large cap that could be looking to make an acquisition itself. Okay, let's zoom in on Cytokinetics, because this is a fascinating story. They just got a huge FDA approval, and because of that, everyone is calling them the belle of the ball for this conference. They are widely seen as the #1 acquisition target out there, and analysts are throwing around a potential price tag of $15 to $20 billion.
But out of all these names, there is one that stands out. The single highest conviction play in this entire playbook, the one with an almost perfect impact score of 9.8 out of 10, is Viking Therapeutics. This is the stock that has everyone buzzing. So what's the deal with Viking? Well, it's the definition of an asymmetric bet. The upside, the bull case, is absolutely massive. If they draw positive data for their new oral obesity drug, you could see a bidding war break out from giants like Pfizer or Merck, which could send the stock soaring. But, and you knew there was a but, the risk is just as real. If the data disappoints or there are safety issues, the stock could get cut in half. It's a true high-risk, high-reward situation.
Okay, so we've covered the what, the why, and the who. Now let's get to the most important part, the how. This is your tactical guide. How do you actually navigate all this volatility and put this knowledge to work?
So here's the framework. It's a simple 3-step plan. Step 1, accumulate. You build your positions in these high-conviction names early, between January 5th and 8th, during Shadow Week. Step 2, hold. Just stay steady. Ride out the crazy volatility you know is coming during the main conference week. And Step 3, trim. If your catalysts hit and the stocks run, be disciplined. Take some profits off the table. Lock in 30 to 50% of your gains around January 13th or 14th.
And this right here, this is a real insider's tip. This is the shadow calendar. Forget the official agenda on the main stage. This is where the real conference happens. The most important conversations, the ones that lead to deals, they happen at these exclusive, off-the-record events. You're talking about the Stat News reception, where you hear whispers from journalists, and of course, the legendary Lyric after-hours party on Wednesday. That's where M&A deals have been known to get finalized over a handshake.
And finally, as you're watching all this unfold, there is one key number you need to have on your screen. It's for the whole biotech sector, the XBI index, and the magic number is 110. If you see the XBI make a clean, decisive break above 110 on big volume, that's your signal. That is a massive blue sky breakout and a huge green light for the entire biotech sector for the rest of Q1.
So there you have it, the secret timeline, the big market drivers, the high-conviction stocks, and the tactical game plan. The playbook is officially written. The only question left is, which play are you going to watch? That's all for now. Stay sharp out there.